Okay, people have been asking me how I troubleshoot Zscaler client connector during the single sign-on process. How do I figure out what's going on? So it's important to remember that with WebView 2 enabled in client connector, whether as an installer option or as cloud-wide option, it's basically using an embedded Edge browser or the WebView 2 process, which Edge uses. So if I was to troubleshoot Edge, I would open up Edge and I'd go to Chrome. I'm not doing that. Edge, net-export. I'd say log everything, start logging to disk. We'll log to the desktop, click Save. And then if I go to SAML SP to initiate the SAML single sign-on process, we did the redirect, did the response, and this was what we saw, and it created a weblog file here. So we can go ahead and search through this for login.microsoft, and we'd see that we got the redirects here, and we'd see all of the request, the response, and the primary refresh token. All the cookies were sent that gave me a single sign-on experience. So we need to think about how we do that with Client Connector. So at the moment I got Client Connector is signed out. So I come in here, right click, we'll go to settings. No, we won't. We'll go to right click and we'll go to system, and we'll go to advanced system settings. And what we're going to do is set an environment variable, system-wide environment variable, which is called WebView2 _ additional _ browser _ arguments. And so this is telling WebView2 that when it loads, basically do the same thing that I configured in Edge. And so that settings are -- log -net -log, and we give it a file, temp net-export.json, and we say to capture everything. That was that third checkbox that we did inside the browser. So that is set as a system-wide environment variable. We're going to see temp, but there's nothing in that folder at the moment. So if I go ahead and I launch Zscaler now, it's going to load up the configuration, configure installer option, said which cloud tenant to use, and domain name and everything. It's gone ahead, it's picked those things up. It's doing the single sign-on process against Entra, because that's what my IDP is configured here for this tenant. And we are all signed in, and we can see that here. So we did transparent single sign-on against Entra using the primary refresh token, and we see the log file was created here. And just to give you a bit of confidence in that, if we do ds-reg cmd status, we see that going on here. We know we got an Entra or Azure AD joined device. It's fully managed, and we can see we got the primary refresh token. We got the token at 14:55, 15, 14, and 55 seconds. So it's like 15 minutes ago. And it expires in 2 weeks, so the standard primary refresh time of 2 weeks, and that goes ahead and gets that token, and we saw the single sign-on happen here. So if we again open up this net export, it looks exactly the same as the one that we got from Edge directly, although this is going to do it from the embedded browser and everything, and it gives us a bit more details of what was going on. And we see the redirects happen here. Here's my tenant. So it's starting the SSO process. Yep. So here's the post data, and this here is the credential. This tells us the primary refresh token, and this tells us this is the device token. Tenant ID, device authentication, and gives us all the information about the device that maps into the tenant. What this shows is that you can do a full header trace inside a client connector using net-export. We don't like using tools like Fiddler because they set a proxy in the system, and that ends up changing the way that the browser essentially behaves. The browser is aware of an explicit proxy, and that can change the way things work, like trusted zones and whatever. But by configuring the options in the system settings, we're able to capture all of the information from a WebView 2 process, and then store it locally to review offline. Hope this helps. Mark at Zscaler.com.